Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of Gimok. So guys, let me wish you all a Merry Christmas and I hope you have a great day. Okay, so guys, we have received a very good response, a great response for our previous videos on ABM, okay, on all the modules, and due to your continuous support, we have also we are now the family of 1000 subscribers, more than 1000 subscribers. Okay, so thank you once again for that. And also when we receive the response, when we receive the compliment like that, that due to our MCQs, people were the students were able to clear their exams, so it gives us immense satisfaction to continue for a video. It gives us the great motivation, to continue making videos for you. So guys, so without wasting time, let's just get started with the video on bank financial management. We have in this video we have come up with the 51 MCQs on module A, international banking, which is actually a very important topic, because most of the numericals and most of the conceptual question will come from this module. Okay, so without wasting time, let's just get started with the first question. So first question is, who can open SNRR account, special non-resident rupee account in India? Okay, so you can go through the options here. Option A is any person resident outside India for putting through bona fide transaction in foreign currency. Option B is any person resident outside India having a business interest in India for putting through bona fide transaction in rupees. Option C is any foreign national of non-Indian origin visiting India with funds remitted from outside India through banking channel or by sale of foreign exchange brought by him to India. Or option D, exporters who earn foreign currency by the way of export and conversion of earned foreign currency in rupees through SNRR account. So guys, what you can do is you can try to attempt all the questions and you can try to assess your score. Okay, you can then you can genuinely assess your preparation level, how's your preparation level is. Okay, आप लोग कमेंट में भी अपना जो स्कोर है वो लिख सकते हैं, and that way at least you can assess your preparation level. Okay, so let me just tell you the answer. The answer to the first question is option B, that is any person resident outside India having a business interest in India for putting through bona fide transaction rupees. Okay, so SNR account उस persons के लिए है जो they are resident outside India but having a business interest in India, so they can open SNRR account. Okay, so moving to the question number 2. What are the type of accounts which can be opened under the foreign currency non-resident account banks scheme? That means FCNRB, which is actually famously called FCNRB account. Okay, so you can go through the options here. Option A is savings and current account only. Option B is savings, current and term deposit only. Option C is term deposit only, and option D is current account and term deposit only. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, term deposit only, क्योंकि FCNRB जो account है उसको सिर्फ term deposit account का type ही होता है, उसी में खोला जा सकता है. Okay, and if you open any NRE or NRO account, then savings, current, recurring and fixed deposit, those can be opened under NRE, NRO, but under FCNRB, term deposit account only can be opened. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 3. What happens to the FCNRB accounts upon change in residential status of the account holder from non-resident to resident? So suppose कोई NRI है, अगर वो NRI से resident again बन जाता है, इंडिया वापस आ जाता है, तो उसके FCNRB account का क्या होगा? Okay, what happens to that account? That is the question. So you can go through the options here. Option A is FCNRB deposit account must be closed immediately and the amount must be transferred to SNRR account. Option B is FCNRB deposits may be allowed to continue till maturity at the savings rate of interest if so desired by the account holder. And option C is FCNRB deposit account must be closed immediately and the amount must be transferred to resident savings account of the customer. Or the option D, FCNRB deposits may be allowed to continue till maturity at the contracted rate of interest if so desired by the account holder. So the correct answer to this question is option D, that is it may be allowed to continue till maturity at the contracted rate of interest, okay, if so desired by the account holder. All right. And also additional information is that authorized dealers should convert the FCNRB deposits on maturity into resident rupee domestic deposit account or RPC account if the depositor is eligible to open an RPC account. So guys, क्या होता है, FCNRB deposit जो है on maturity, ये ऑथराइज डीलर इसको कन्वर्ट भी कर सकते हैं RFC अकाउंट में अगर डिपॉजिटर ऐसा चाहता है तो, ओके, एंड इफ ही इज एलिजिबल टू ओपन RFC अकाउंट, ओके. Moving on to the question number 4, an FCNRB term deposit account can be opened for a maximum period of so you can go through the options here. Option A is 5 years, option B is 3 years, option C is 10 years, and option D is it can be for any period depending upon asset liability position of authorized dealers. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is 5 years. Okay, FCNRB can be opened for the maximum period of 5 years. Okay, and as you can see here, FCNRB should not be opened less than 1 year and it should not go more than 5 years. Okay, so 1 साल से 5 साल के बीच में खोला जा सकता है FCNRB टर्म डिपॉजिट, इसका पीरियड उतना ही होता है. एंड NRE जो होता है that can be opened from 1 to 3 years. However, banks are allowed to accept NRE deposits above 3 years from their asset liability point of view. Okay, and NRO का क्या होता है, it is applicable to resident accounts. Okay, so जैसा कि resident accounts यहाँ के जैसे normal savings accounts या recurring deposit account या term deposit account का जो maximum period होता है, that is applicable to NRO account. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 5. In a NRE account, which of the following can be done by power of attorney holder? So you can go through the options here. Option A is make payment by way of gift to a resident on behalf of the non-resident account holder and transfer funds from account to another NRO account. Option B is repatriate outside India funds in the account other than to the non-resident individual account holder. Option C is all withdrawals for permissible local payments or remittance to the account holder himself through normal banking channels. And option D is power of attorney holder cannot withdraw any payment, rather they can deposit the payment or deposit the payment in the NRE account. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is all withdrawals for permissible local payments or remittance to the account holder himself through normal banking channels. Okay, so power of attorney holder जो allowed है करने के लिए वो यही है, all withdrawals for permissible local payments or remittance to the account holder himself. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 6. In which of the following accounts opened by NRI is not taxable in India? So you can go through the options here. Option A is NRE account, option B is FCNRB account, option C is NRO account, and option D is both A and B. So guys, the correct answer to this question is both A and B. So option D is the correct answer. So FCNRB and NRE accounts are not taxable. Please remember this. These questions are very common in the CIB BFM exam. Okay. So FCNRB and NRE accounts are not taxable. However, NRO accounts are taxable at the rate of 30% as per the Income Tax Act. Okay. Let's move on to the question number 7. What is the maximum amount which can be repatriated through NRO account per financial year? So this question is also very common. It's been asked in the previous CIB BFM exam. So guys, इसको याद कर लो. It's बहुत common question है. You can go through the options here. Option A is USD 2.5 million. Option B is USD 1 million. Option C is USD 0.1 million. And option D is USD 0.25 million. Okay. So काफ़ी confusing options होते हैं. So you need to your concept should be clear in this. Okay. So correct answer to this question is USD 1 million. So अपना concept clear कर लो. USD 1 million is the correct answer. Okay. ये जो amount है, it can be repatriated through NRO account per financial year. Okay. Please remember that. So NRIs जो होते हैं, they may remit from the balances held in NRO account an amount not exceeding USD 1 million per financial year, subject to payment of applicable taxes. Okay, so the limit of USD 1 million includes sale proceeds of immovable properties. So guys, ये क्वेश्चन को अलग तरीके से भी पूछ सकता है. इसमें पूछा जा सकता है कि immovable properties के लिए कितना repatriate कर सकते हैं through NRO account. So your answer should be the same, USD 1 million. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 8. So remittance facility for which of the following is prohibited under liberalized remittance scheme, LRS? It's quite a popular scheme by RBI, liberalized remittance scheme. You must have heard about it, okay? So you can go through the options here. Option A is private visit to any country except Nepal and Bhutan. Option B is expenses in connection with medical treatment abroad. Option C is remittances for purchase of FCCBs issued by Indian companies in the overseas secondary market. And option D is other current account transaction which is not covered under the definition of current account in FEMA 1999. So guys, इसमें पूछा गया which of the following is prohibited, okay? So you can go through the options here and I'll tell you the correct answer. Correct answer to this question is option C. Remittances for purchase of FCCBs issued by Indian companies in the overseas secondary market, okay? ये prohibited है under liberalized remittance scheme. Foreign convertible bonds के लिए आप remittances नहीं कर सकते under LRS, okay? सो गाइज अभी हम लेट्स सी कि कौन कौन सी चीज़ें प्रोहिबिटेड हैं, किस किस चीज़ों के लिए आप पैसे नहीं भेज सकते, रेमिट नहीं कर सकते अंडर liberalized remittance scheme. So the remittance facility under the LRS scheme which is not available for the following purpose. So you can just see here, remittance for any purpose is specifically prohibited under Schedule 1. तो Schedule 1 क्या क्या है? Like purchase of lottery tickets, sweepstakes, proscribed magazines, etc. or any item restricted under Schedule 2 of foreign exchange management, okay? Remittance from India for margin or margin calls to overseas exchanges, overseas counterparty, ये भी आप नहीं कर सकते. Remittance for purchase of FCCBs, okay, as we saw in the last question. Remittance for trading in foreign exchange abroad, ये भी इसके लिए भी prohibited है. Capital account remittances directly or indirectly to countries identified by the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, okay, as non-cooperative countries. So in countries में भी for capital account remittances अगर आप remittance करते हैं, that is prohibited under LRS, okay? And remittance directly or indirectly to those individuals and entities identified as posing significant risk of committing act of terrorism, as advised separately by the Reserve Bank to the banks. So Reserve Bank banks को advise करती हैं, those entities or individual, they have marked those individual and entities as a terrorist entities, okay? So remittance directly or indirectly to those individuals are banned. So guys, these are very important. इसमें से कुछ भी पूछ सकता है BFM exam में, so please remember these main points, vital points, okay? So let's move on to the question number 9. What is the maximum amount up to which a resident individual can make a rupee gift to a NRI / PIO in his NRO account, okay? So you can go through the options here. Option A is USD 2,50,000. Option B is USD 1 million. Option C is USD 25,000. And option D is no limit. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is USD 2,50,000 per financial year as permitted under LRS. So the maximum amount a resident individual can make a rupee gift to any NRI / person of Indian origin. So that amount is USD 2,50,000, okay? So remember that. So moving on to the question number 10. If an limited liability partnership firm sponsor the education expense of its partners who are pursuing higher studies for the benefit of the LLP, then what is the maximum amount an LLP can remit for the said purpose? So guys, this question is very important. It can be asked under the LRS scheme. So you can go through the options here. Option A is USD 2,50,000 permitted under LRS scheme. Option B is USD 1 million. Option C is USD 10 million, and option D is no limit. So guys, most of you have guessed the answer as A, but that is not the answer, okay? The correct answer to this question is option D, that is no limit. Yes, that is correct, no limit. LLP is a body corporate, please understand. LLP is a body corporate and it has a legal entity separate from its partners. Therefore, if the LLP incurs / sponsors the education expense of its partners who are pursuing higher studies for the benefit of the LLP, then the same shall be outside the LRS limit of the individual partners and would instead be deemed as residential current account transaction undertaken by the LLP without any limits, okay? So please remember that if any LLP sponsors the education of its partner, it will be outside the LRS limit. All right. This is the actually guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India. So please remember that this question might be asked under the LRS scheme. It is quite confusing question, so don't be confused in the exam if it is asked. Okay, so guys, let's move on to question number 11. A resident foreign currency domestic account can be opened in which type of following account? So you can go through the options here. Option A is savings account only, option B is term deposit only, option C is current account only, and option D is all of the above. So you can go through the options. The correct answer to this question is option C, that is current account only. So resident foreign currency, RFC, okay, RFC domestic account can be opened under the current account only. Okay, the type should be current account only. So I have mentioned all other accounts which can be opened under which types. You can go through this. So EEFC, that is exchange earner foreign currency account, the type should be current account only. RFCD, the type current account only, and RFC account, only the rupee for resident foreign currency account, that can be opened in all type of accounts like current, savings and term deposit. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 12. Exporters other than 100% export oriented unit can deposit dash percentage of exports proceed to exchange earners foreign currency account. So exporters other than 100% export oriented unit, EOU, वो लोग कितना डिपॉजिट कर सकते हैं, एक्सपोर्ट प्रोसीड्स टू देयर EEFC अकाउंट, कितना परसेंट ऑफ देयर एक्सपोर्ट प्रोसीड्स दे कैन डिपॉजिट इन देयर अकाउंट. दैट इज व्हाट हैज बीन आस्क्ड इन दिस क्वेश्चन. So you can go through the options here. Option A is 70%, option B is 90%, option C is 100%, and option D is 50%. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is 100%. Okay, 100% of the export proceed they can deposit in EEFC account. All right. So guys, let's move to the question number 13. So it's asking which of the following is not a permissible debit in case of EEFC accounts. So you can go through the options here. Option A is payment outside India towards a permissible current account transaction. Option B is payment of custom duty in accordance with the provisions of the foreign trade policy of the central government for the time being in force. Option C is trade related loans, advances extended by an exporter holding such account to his importer customer outside India. And option D is all of the above are permissible debit. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is all of the above are permissible debit. So guys, whatever option A, B, C are, these are the permissible debit. Okay, so option D is correct answer. And apart from that, the other permissible debits in case of EEFC accounts are payment in foreign exchange to a person resident in India for supply of goods, services, including payments for airfare and hotel expenditure, and also payment in foreign exchange towards cost of goods purchased from a 100% export oriented unit or a unit in export processing zone, software technology park, or electronic hardware technology park. Okay, so remember that these are all the permissible debit from in case of a EEFC account. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 14. Which of the following is not the accepted mode of payment for property acquired in India by NRI, OCI/PIO? So you can go through the options here. Payment made out of NRE/NRO account, payment made through traveler's check, payment made through foreign currency notes, and option D is both B and C. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is both B and C. They are not the accepted mode of payment. So as you can see here, I have given the description. Payment for immovable property has to be received in India through banking channels only. Okay, and is subject to payment of all taxes and other duties levies in India. The payment can also be made out of funds held in NRE, FCNR, NRO accounts of the NRI/OCIs. Okay, payment should not be made through traveler's checks and foreign currency note. It clearly says it should not be made through traveler's checks and foreign currency notes. Okay, so they are not the acceptable mode of payment. So let's move on to the question number 15. The prohibition of a resident acquiring property outside India is applicable if dash. So you need to fill up the blank with the correct option. So option A is if the resident is a foreign national. Option B is if the property was acquired before July 8, 1947 and continued to be held after obtaining permission. Option C is if it is acquired on a lease exceeding 5 years and option D is none of the above. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is if it is acquired on a lease exceeding 5 years. So the prohibition of a resident acquiring property outside India is not applicable if it is acquired on a lease not exceeding 5 years. Okay, so the thing is that if the person has acquired a resident property on a lease not exceeding 5 years, then there is no provision, okay, prohibition. And if it is acquired on a lease exceeding 5 years, then there is a prohibition of resident acquiring property outside India. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 16. Which of the following property cannot be acquired as immovable property in India by an NRI / overseas citizen of India? So you can go through the options here. Option A is purchase of farmhouse plantation land from resident NRI OCI. Option B is acquire any immovable property as inheritance from any person resident who has acquired it under laws in force. Option C is acquire as gift other than agriculture land, farmhouse, plantation, etc. from resident NRI / OCI. And option D is purchase of immovable property other than agriculture land, farmhouse, plantation, etc. from resident NRI OCI. Okay, so guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is purchase of farmhouse, plantation, land from resident NRI OCI is prohibited. It cannot be acquired as immovable property in India by an NRI / OCI. Okay, so please remember that farmhouse, plantation land ये खरीद नहीं सकते resident NRI, okay, in India. Okay, so let's move on to the question number 17. What is the maximum amount can be brought in by the person coming into India from abroad in the form of foreign currency notes alone without declaring to the custom authorities in the currency declaration form? All right, so you can go through the options here. Option A is USD 10,000, option B is USD 5,000, option C is USD 2,500, and option D is there is no such limit. Okay, so the correct answer is option B. Okay, so description दिया हुआ है guys. A person coming into India from abroad can bring with him foreign exchange without any limit. However, if the aggregate value of the foreign exchange in the form of currency notes, bank notes, or traveler's checks brought in exceeds 10,000 or its equivalent, and or the value of foreign currency alone exceeds USD 5,000 or its equivalent, it should be declared to the custom authorities at the airport in the currency declaration form. Okay, so guys, अगर आप 5,000 से ज़्यादा USD अगर कोई लेके आता है बाहर के कंट्री से इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फॉरेन करेंसी अलोन, तो ये CDF में डिक्लेयर करना पड़ता है. ओके, और अगर ये बैंक नोट, ट्रेवलर्स चेक पूरा को टोटल मिला के अगर ये USD 10,000 एक्सीड करता है, देन ऑल्सो CDF में डिक्लेयर करना पड़ता है. ओके, so guys, let's move on to the question number 18. If a person purchases foreign exchange for the amount equivalent to rupees 50,000 and above for traveling abroad, the entire amount should be made by way of dash. So you can go through the option here. Option A is cross check / banker's check only. Option B is pay order / demand draft only. Option C is debit, credit or prepaid card only, and option D is all of the above. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is all of the above. Okay, थ्रू बैंकिंग चैनल से आना चाहिए. तो ये सारे बैंकिंग चैनल से क्रॉस चेक, बैंकर चेक, पे ऑर्डर, डिमांड ड्राफ्ट, डेबिट, क्रेडिट और प्रीपेड कार्ड. ओके, तो ये सारे बैंकिंग चैनल से, तो सारे से आने से कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. ओके, so guys, let's move on to the question number 19. On return from a foreign trip, travelers are required to surrender unspent foreign exchange held in the form of currency notes and travelers checks within dash days of return. However, they are free to return forex up to dash in the form of foreign currency notes or travelers checks. So you can go through the options here. Option A is 90 days and USD 5,000. Option B is 180 days and USD 2,000. Option C is 270 days and USD 2,000. And option D is 180 days and USD 5,000. So guys, correct answer to this question is option B, that is 180 days and USD 2,000. Okay, और आपको जो भी अनस्पेड फॉरेन एक्सचेंज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ करेंसी नोट या ट्रेवलर्स चेक्स हुआ विदिन 180 डेज ऑफ रिटर्न, ओके, सरेंडर करना पड़ता है टू द अथॉरिटीज़. बट आप कितना रिटर्न कर सकते हैं? अप टू USD 2,000 ओनली. ऑलराइट guys, let's move on to the question number 20. Full-fledged money changers are authorized to undertake which of the following? You can go through the options here. Option A is only sale transaction of foreign currency. Option B is only purchase transaction of foreign currency. Option C is all types of forex transactions. And option D is purchase and sale of foreign currency notes, coins and travelers checks. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is FFMCs, full-fledged money changers, are allowed to take purchase and sale of foreign currency notes, coins and traveler's checks. Okay, moving on to the question number 21. When nostro account of the bank is credited before the payment to the tenderer of foreign exchange, which of the following rates will be applied? Okay, so guys, ये बहुत ही कॉमन क्वेश्चन है जो कि आता रहता है IABF के एग्जाम में, BFM के एग्जाम में. So you can try to attempt this. You can go through the option. Option A is TT selling rate, option B is TT buying rate, option C is bills buying rate, and option D is bills selling rate. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is TT buying rate. So whenever your bank's nostro account is credited before the payment to the exporter or the tenderer of a foreign exchange, then TT buying rate is applied there. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 22. Which of the following is not correct regarding type of foreign exchange transaction according to date of deal and date of delivery? So which is not correct, it is asking. Okay, so you can go to the option A is cash, which is to be settled on the same day. Option B is spot, delivery of foreign exchange takes place on the second working day of the contract. Option C is TOM, delivery of foreign exchange takes place on the 7th day of the contract. And option D is forward, delivery of foreign exchange takes place beyond second working day of the contract. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is TOM. This is incorrect option. Okay, TOM is all about delivery of foreign exchange takes place on the next working day of the contract. Okay, so TOM के केस में क्या होता है, foreign exchange का जो delivery होता है next working day of the contract हो जाता है. All right, इसलिए TOM मतलब tomorrow. It is the short form of tomorrow also. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 23. When foreign currency is fixed and value of home currency is variable, it is called. Option, you can go through the options here. Option A is cross rate, option B is indirect rate, option C is variable rate, option D is direct rate. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is direct rate. When foreign currency is fixed and value of home currency is variable, it is called direct rate. Whereas when home currency is fixed and value of foreign currency is variable, it is called indirect rate. Okay, so please remember these two key points. All right, so guys, let's move on to the question number 24. Under which of the exchange rate system market forces are fully operational and currency rates are decided by the market forces? So you can go through the options here. Option A is fixed exchange rate system, option B is floating exchange rate system, option C is mixed exchange rate system, and option D is through official intervention of central bank of the country. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is floating exchange rate system. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 25. Which of the following rate to be applied in case of purchase of export bill? So quite an easy question for you guys. अगर आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा ये TT buying rate, selling rate का concept, तो आप you can easily answer this question. So guys, export bill के case में it is always on the buying side, and export bill है तो it is the correct answer is bills buying rate. Okay. So guys, let's move on to the question number 26. Question number 26 is an export bill of a customer was negotiated on July 2020. This bill has been returned by the overseas buyer for some reason, and the AD, that is authorized dealer, has to debit his customer account with Indian rupees. The rate to be applied will be. Okay. So guys, you can go through the options here. Option A is bills buying, option B is TT buying, and option C is bills selling, and option D is TT selling. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, TT selling. मगर आप कहोगे एक्सपोर्ट बिल है तो बिल्स बाइंग होना चाहिए था, राइट? सो गाइज, अगर आप क्वेश्चन को माइन्यूटली डिटेल्स में देखें तो एक्सपोर्ट बिल जो कस्टमर के साथ बैंक ने नेगोशिएट किया था वो जुलाई 2020 में किया था. बिल्स बाइंग रेट पे एक्सपोर्ट बिल नेगोशिएट किया था और कस्टमर को पे भी कर दिया था बिल्स बाइंग रेट के हिसाब से, कोड के हिसाब से. ओके, बट नाउ इफ़ यू सी द क्वेश्चन माइन्यूटली, द बिल हैज़ बीन रिटर्न बाय द ओवरसीज बोरोवर. ओके, ऑनर नहीं हुआ बिल. सो अभी कस्टमर का अकाउंट डेबिट करना पड़ेगा बैंक को, एंड दैट डेबिट कस्टमर अकाउंट विल बी डेबिटेड. सो कस्टमर को अकाउंट कब डेबिट होता है? जब उसे फॉरेन एक्सचेंज सेल किया जाएगा, अकाउंट डेबिट होगा उसका. सो इस केस में टीटी सेलिंग रेट अप्लाई होता है. ओके, सो बैंक क्या करेगी? इंडियन रुपीज़ डेबिट करेगी, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज सेल करेगी इस केस में, ठीक है ना? तो टीटी सेलिंग रेट अप्लाई होता है. ओके, रिटर्न के केस में, एक्सपोर्टर के केस में टीटी सेलिंग रेट अप्लाई होगा, एक्सपोर्ट बिल के केस में. ऑलराइट, लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द क्वेश्चन नंबर 27. डेरिवेटिव्स आर यूज्ड बाय एन एक्सपोर्टर फॉर मैनेजिंग विच टाइप ऑफ फॉलोइंग रिस्क? So you can go through the options here. Option A is currency risk, option B is market risk, option C is credit risk, and option D is concentration risk. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is currency risk. All right. Now let's move on to the question number 28. An export bill is taken for collection by the bank. The exchange rate applied for the transaction would be. So guys, quite an easy question. You can go to the options here. Option A is bills buying rate, option B is DP by DA rate, option C is TT buying rate as on date of the realization of the bill, and option D is TT buying rate as on date of the sending of the bill for collection. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is TT buying rate as on the date of realization of the bill. Okay. So कोई भी एक्सपोर्ट बिल अगर कलेक्शन के लिए बैंक भेजता है तो जिस दिन उसका रियलाइजेशन होगा बिल का, उस दिन का टीटी बाइंग रेट अप्लाई होगा और उसी हिसाब से उसके अकाउंट में क्रेडिट कर दिया जाएगा. ओके. सो गाइज, लेट्स मूव टू द क्वेश्चन नंबर 29. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट अ सेल ट्रांजेक्शन ऑफ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज. सो इसमें आपको फाइंड आउट करना है, थोड़ा कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेश्चन है. यू कैन गो थ्रू द ऑप्शंस हियर. ऑप्शन ए इज इशुएंस ऑफ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट, option B is payment of an import bill, option C is realization of an export bill, and option D is both A and B. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is realization of an export bill. इसमें क्या है, नॉट ए सेल ट्रांजेक्शन इसमें पूछा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज के केस में. तो गाइज, इफ़ यू गो थ्रू द ऑप्शन ए इज इशुएंस ऑफ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट. सो इसमें क्या है, इसमें सेल ट्रांजेक्शन ही हो रहा है. ओके. क्योंकि डिमांड ड्राफ्ट इशू कर रहा है कस्टमर के बिहाफ पे बैंक, तो बैंक उसको फॉरेन एक्सचेंज सेल कर रहा है. ओके. एंड पेमेंट ऑफ एन इम्पोर्ट बिल के भी केस में बैंक क्या कर रहा है, सेल कर रहा है फॉरेन एक्सचेंज. ऑलराइट. बट ऑप्शन सी के केस में, एक्सपोर्ट बिल के केस में, बैंक क्या कर रहा है, बाय कर रहा है ट्रांजेक्शन. सो दैट इज नॉट अ सेल ट्रांजेक्शन. ओके. गाइस, लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द क्वेश्चन नंबर 30. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग ऑप्शंस gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to exercise the option at any time before the expiration or maturity date. So derivative से related question है guys, and option से you can go through the options here. बहुत ही अच्छा question है. It might be asked in the examination also. So options are, option A is European option, option B is Indian option, option C is vanilla option, and option D is American option. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is American option. American option में क्या होता है, it can be exercised on any day before expiry. और European option के केस में क्या होता है, the option can be exercised only on the maturity. Okay. So ये अंतर है American option और European option में. So guys, let's move into question number 31. Under put option, if strike price is more than the spot price, then the option is option. So you can go through the choices here. Choice A is at the money, choice B is out of the money, choice C is in the money, and choice D is at first it is out of the money, then at the money due to spot price fluctuation. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is in the money. Okay. यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं आप ऑप्शंस के केस में स्ट्राइक प्राइस अगर ऊपर नीचे होता है तो क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है उसमें. सो डेफिनेशन में मैंने दिया हुआ है, इफ़ स्ट्राइक प्राइस इज़ मोर देन द स्पॉट प्राइस, द ऑप्शन इज़ इन द मनी. If strike price is equal to the spot price, the option is at the money, and if strike price is less than the spot price, the option is out of the money. So guys, please remember, ये put option के केस में होता है, call option के केस में कुछ different होता है. Put option के केस में ये तीनों जो मैंने differences बताए आपको, in the money, at the money और out of the money के बारे में, तो ये होता है. Okay, you can remember that. Let's move on to the question number 32. Which of the following is not a permissible source of funding overseas direct investment? So guys, you can go through the options here. Option A is withdrawal of forex from an AD bank in India. Option B is proceeds of external commercial borrowing (FCCB). Option C is non-capitalization of exports and other dues in NEJ. And option D is balance held in EFC account. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is non-capitalization of exports and other dues. All right. So guys, let me quickly go through the overseas direct investment related some points. Okay. So guys, funding for overseas direct investment can be made by one or more of the following sources. So you can note down the sources, कैसे कैसे overseas direct investment you can made. Okay. So first is withdrawal of foreign exchange from an AD bank in India. Okay. दूसरा क्या है, swap of shares. And तीसरा is capitalization of exports and other dues and entitlements. Option 4 is proceeds of external commercial borrowing oblique foreign currency convertible bonds. And the fifth point is in exchange of ADRs, GDR issued in accordance with the scheme for issue of foreign currency convertible bonds and ordinary shares through depository receipt mechanism scheme 1993 and the guidelines issued by the government of India in the matter. Okay, so guys, let's move on to question number 33. What is the minimum average maturity period for ECB raised by manufacturing companies up to USD 50 million or its equivalent per financial year? So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is 1 year. 1 year के लिए maturity है for ECB raised by manufacturing companies up to USD 50 million. Okay, so guys, हम देख लेते हैं जो MAMP है ECB के लिए वो different scenarios में क्या क्या maturity period होता है. So guys, here you go. You can go through 5 types of ECBs. Those are raised by the companies. Okay, so first option is the first point is ECB raised by manufacturing companies up to USD 50 million or its equivalent per financial year. So they have the time of 1 year. They have one year MAMP. Okay, minimum average maturity period. And again, point number 2 is ECB raised from foreign equity holder for working capital purpose, general corporate purpose, or for repayment of rupee loans. So 5 years is the minimum average maturity period. And if it is ECB raised for working capital purpose or general corporate purpose, the MAMP is 10 years, and ECB raised for repayment of rupee loans available domestically for capital expenditure on lending by NBFCs for the same purpose, the MAMP is 7 years. And ECB raised for repayment of rupee loans available domestically for purpose other than capital expenditure, then the term is 10 years. Okay, MAMP is 10 years. Let's move on to the question number 34. Interest rate charged by RBI in export finance to banks is at the rate of dash. Option A is bank rate, option B is repo rate, option C is reverse repo rate, and option D is bank rate. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is repo rate. Okay, the interest rate charged by RBI on export finance to banks is at the rate of repo rate. All right, so guys, let's move on to the question number 35. Which of the following form is used in respect of software export in non-physical form? So quite an easy question, guys. You can go to the options. I'll tell you the answer. Answer is soft text. Okay, quite an easy guess for you also. So let me now move on to the question number 36. Our return is submitted to RBI on which of the following dates of the month? So let me go through the options. Option A is 15th and last day of the month. Option B is 7th day in 21 days. Option C is 15th and 25th day. Option D is 10th and 20th day. Okay, so guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is 15th and last day of the month where on which our return is submitted to RBI. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 37. Which of the following LC enables the beneficiary to avail pre-shipment credit at issuing bank's risk by the corresponding bank? So which of the following LC? You need to take the name of the category of the LC. You can go through the option here. Option A is green clause LC. Option B is standby LC. Option C is red clause LC, and option D is pre-ship clause. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option C, that is red clause LC. All right, so let's move on to the question number 38. In which type of LC corresponding bank can allow advance for storage and shipment besides pre-shipment? So guys, you can go to the options. Option A is revocable LC, option B is green clause LC, option C is red clause LC. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is green clause LC. Okay, let's move on to the question number 39. In terms of UCPDC 600, in absence of any indication in the letter of credit, it will be treated as dash. So you can go through the options here. Option A is revocable LC, option B is irrevocable LC, option C is it will be cancelled as per UCPDC 600 guidelines, and option D is LC without clause. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is irrevocable LC. Guys, let's move on to the question number 40. Which of the following risk is the risk of failure of the counterparty before maturity of the contract, thereby exposing the other party to cover the transaction at the ongoing markets? You can go to the options here. Option A is liquidity risk, option B is counterparty default risk, option C is settlement risk, and option D is pre-settlement risk. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option D, that is pre-settlement risk. Pre-settlement risk is the possibility that one party in a contract will fail to meet its obligation under that contract, okay, resulting in default before the settlement date. सो ऐसे रिस्क को प्री सेटलमेंट रिस्क बोलते हैं. राइट, नाउ लेट मी टेक द 41st क्वेश्चन. सो क्वेश्चन नंबर 41 इज ऑथराइज्ड डीलर्स आर कैटेगराइज्ड इनटू हाउ मेनी कैटेगरीज. सो यू कैन गो थ्रू द ऑप्शंस हियर. ऑप्शन ए इज 4, 5, 3, 2. ऑलराइट, so guys, authorized dealers are categorized into 3 categories. The correct answer is 3. Alright, because AD category 1 is banks, FI and other entities allowed to execute all types of foreign transaction. Alright, whereas AD category 2 is full-fledged money changers and AD category 3 is restricted money changers. Alright, let's move on to the question number 42. What does I stand for CHIPS? So guys, easy question है बहुत ज़्यादा. You can try to attempt this one. The answer to this question is option D, that is interbank. Okay, चिप्स का पूरा फुल फॉर्म बता देता हूँ मैं आपको. चिप्स इज क्लियरिंग हाउस इंटरबैंक पेमेंट सिस्टम और मेजर पेमेंट सिस्टम है यूएसए का सिंस 1970. ओके, उसके बाद फेड वायर है जो कि पेमेंट सिस्टम ऑफ फेडरल रिजर्व बैंक का है यूएसए का, यूज्ड फॉर डोमेस्टिक ट्रांजैक्शंस एंड यूज्ड फॉर डोमेस्टिक पेमेंट्स. And the third point is CHAPS, that is Clearing House Automated Payment System, that is based on London. Target is Trans-European Automated Real-Time Gross Settlement Express Transfer System is a Euro payment system working in Europe. Okay. Under which of the following article of UCP 600 it is stated that a credit can neither be amended nor cancelled without the agreement of the issuing bank, the confirming bank, if any, and the beneficiary. Okay. So you can go through the options here. Option A is Article 10, option B is Article 11, option C is Article 12, and option D is Article 15. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is Article 10. So guys, let's move on to the question number 44. In respect of diamond dollar accounts, which of the following is not true? So you can go to the option here. Option A is average export turnover of 2 crore or above during preceding 3 licensing years. Option B is an exporter can have maximum 5 diamond dollar accounts. Option C is the trader should have track record of 2 years. And option D is diamond dollar account can be opened by traders dealing in rough and polished diamond or diamond studded jewelry. So इसमें पूछ रहा है which of the following is not true. Okay, so guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is average export turnover of 2 crore or above during preceding 3 license year is incorrect. And average export turnover of 3 crore or above during preceding 3 licensing years is correct. Okay guys, let's move on to the question number 45. What is the maximum time allowed for banks to review documents under UCP 600? So guys, जो UCP 600 है उसके अंदर बैंक को कितना टाइम दिया गया है डॉक्यूमेंट्स रिव्यू करने का, LC related documents. Okay, so guys, you can go through the options. Option A is 7 banking days, option B is 5 banking days, option C is 10 banking days, and option D is 3 banking day. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is 5 banking days, and it is mentioned in the article 14 of UCP 400. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the question number 46. Which of the following is not true in respect of the gold card scheme? So you can go to the option here. Option A is account should be classified as a standard asset for the last 7 years. Option B is limit is sanctioned for 3 years and thereafter automatic renewal. Option C is concessional rate is allowed for 90 days initially, which can be extended for 360 days. And option D is packing credit is allowed in foreign currency. So guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is account should be classified as a standard asset for last 7 years. That is the incorrect. Okay, correct answer is account should be classified as a standard asset for the last 3 years. That is the correct in respect of the gold card scheme. So 7 years वाला जो ऑप्शन है वो इनकरेक्ट है, ये 3 years होना चाहिए था इसके जगह पे, तो ये करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट होता. So guys, let's move on to the question number 47. This is related to the numerical of BFM. So as you can see here, spot USD rate दिया गया है. Spot USD is rupees 44.80 oblique 85. So bid rate is 44.80 and offer rate is 44.85. Okay, so what rate will be quoted to an export customer who books 1 month forward contract और one forward premium भी दिया हुआ है. Okay, 1 month का 0234 by 0239, 2 month का 0303 by 0307, 3 month का 0323 0327. Okay, so you can go through the options. Okay, आप calculate करो खुद से. You guys can calculate and you can comment your answer for these numericals, because you know what happens in exam. In order to solve the numericals, you need to have a a clear concept regarding the TT बाइंग, TT सेलिंग रेट, एक्सपोर्ट में कैसे क्लियर होता है, बिल्स बाइंग कैसे होता है, बिल्स सेलिंग कैसे होता है. ऑलराइट, दीज ऑल you need to have a clear cut knowledge on that. Okay, then only you can solve the numericals easily. So you can go to the options here, guys. Okay, I'll tell you the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, that is 44.8234. okay, ये होगा क्योंकि आप देखिए USD स्पोर्ट रेट क्या है और एक्सपोर्ट कस्टमर है. दैट मीन्स एक्सपोर्ट कस्टमर के केस में क्या होगा, ये हमेशा बाइंग होता है. ओके, वी बाय एज अ बैंक, we buy the foreign exchange from the export customer. Okay, so as you can see here, spot USD rate 44.80 है. सो उसमें 1 मंथ का फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बुक करता है एक्सपोर्टर, तो उसमें 1 मंथ का जो 0234 है वो ऐड हो जाएगा 44.80 में. सो करेक्ट आंसर क्या होगा, 44.8234. ओके, so guys, let's move on to the question number 48. A bank purchased export bill of USD 40,000 at rupees 73.80, which was dishonored due to non-payment. Okay, how much amount will be recovered from exporter if export rate is 73.90/95 और exchange margin भी दिया हुआ है 0.20%. So guys, इसमें आप कैलकुलेट कीजिए एंड लेट मी सो गाइज यू कैन कमेंट योर आंसर बिलो एंड लेट मी चेक हु गिव्स द करेक्ट आंसर. ओके, सो फॉर द टाइमिंग आई विल टेल यू द करेक्ट आंसर. करेक्ट आंसर इसका होगा ऑप्शन बी, दैट इज 29,63,916. नीचे मैंने डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया हुआ है. इस केस में क्या होगा, सिंस एक्सपोर्ट बिल था और जो डिसऑनर हो गया, तो टीटी हमेशा बैंक विल सेल USD टू द कस्टमर इन द अबव केस. ओके, हेंस ऑफर रेट विल बी अप्लाइड, मतलब सेलिंग का केस होगा ये. ओके, तो इसमें क्या होगा, 73.95 ऑलवेज द सेलिंग रेट मीन्स ऑफर रेट विल बी अप्लाइड. तो 73.95 प्लस 0.25% मार्जिन. सेल के केस में हमेशा मार्जिन ऐड होता है, ये आप हमेशा जानते होंगे. ऐसा होता है, अगर सेल होता है तो मार्जिन ऐड होता है. अगर बाय का केस होता है, यही अगर TT बाइंग होता तो मार्जिन डिडक्ट हो गया होता. तो 73.95 प्लस 0.20 मार्जिन, तो फाइनल रेट क्या हो गया 74.097. और उसको अगर 40,000 USD डॉलर से मल्टीप्लाई करते हैं, देन आंसर कम्स टू 29,63,916. ओके, सो दिस इज द आंसर फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन. ऐसे क्वेश्चन आएंगे, देन आई होप यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व इट इन द एग्जामिनेशन. ऑलराइट, सो गाइज, लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द क्वेश्चन नंबर 49. On January 5, an exporter in India submits a USD 60,000. Okay, 2 months USANS bill drawn under a letter of credit. Normal transit period is 25 days. Okay, and the interbank currency rates are as under. You can go through the rates, guys. Okay, I'll not pronounce that. I'll just tell you the spot rate. 1 USD is equal to 72 rupees. That is the bid rate, and 72.50 is ऑफर रेट. ओके, और जनवरी फॉरवर्ड का मार्जिन देख लीजिए, फेब्रुवरी फॉरवर्ड का मार्जिन देख लीजिए, मार्च फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन और अप्रैल फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन, ये मार्जिन भी दिया हुआ है और एक्सचेंज मार्जिन भी दिया हुआ है 0.25%. ओके, so here in the question it is asking you to find out total gross amount to be credited to exporters account. इंटरेस्ट फॉर द यूसेंस पीरियड नॉट टेकन इनटू अकाउंट. ओके, इंटरेस्ट को छोड़ दीजिए, बाकी आप ग्रॉस अमाउंट को निकाल सकते हैं कि कितना क्रेडिट होगा एक्सपोर्टर के अकाउंट में. गाइज, आप इसको अटेम्प्ट कीजिए, फाइंड आउट द आंसर. ओके, यू कैन पॉज द वीडियो and you can try to find out the answer. Okay, and you can comment your answer and let me check whose answer is correct. So guys, for the timing I'll tell you the correct answer, what will be the correct answer, and I'll describe the answer, how the answer came. All right, so guys, the correct answer to this question is option A, that is 43,57,080. So guys, answer I'll explain the answer. So bill dated कब था, it was on January 5 और 25 days का transit period भी था, प्लस 2 मंथ्स का यूसेंस फरवरी एंड मार्च का. तो पेमेंट कब ड्यू होगा, पेमेंट 30 मार्च को ड्यू होगा, क्योंकि जनवरी 5 प्लस 25 30th ऑफ जनवरी एंड देन अगेन 2 मंथ्स यूसेंस. सो फरवरी मार्च हो गया उधर 2 मंथ्स का, तो पेमेंट ड्यू होगा 30th ऑफ मार्च को. सो एक्सपोर्टर को क्या मिलेगा, मार्च फॉरवर्ड का बेनिफिट मिलेगा. सो सिंस स्पोर्ट रेट 72 है, उसमें आप मार्च का प्रीमियम जोड़ दीजिए. मार्च का प्रीमियम एज यू कैन सी, मार्च फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन इज 0.80. ओके गाइज, मैंने बोला था जो बाय रेट में होगा हमेशा बिड रेट लिया जाएगा, तो 72 का मैंने स्पॉट रेट का बिड रेट लिया और मार्च फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन का बिड रेट लिया 0.80। सो कितना हो गया 72.80। और हमेशा मैंने बोला है कि बाय के केस में मार्जिन डिडक्ट होता है, तो 0.25% जो एक्सचेंज मार्जिन था वो हमने डिडक्ट कर दिया, तो फाइनल कोट रेट आया 72.618 फाइनल रेट। ओके, एंड एक्सपोर्टर अकाउंट कितना से क्रेडिट होगा, तो आपको 60,000 को 72.618 से मल्टीप्लाई कर देना है, तो यू विल गेट द आंसर ऑफ 43,57,080 रुपीज़। ओके, सो दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर। ऑलराइट, I hope you must have understood. Okay, let's move on to the question number 50. An export bill of USD 20,000 was sent for collection, which was submitted by an exporter. On December 10, the correspondent bank credited USD 18,100, the proceeds of the bills, to nostro account of the collecting bank after recovering its own charges. The interbank currency rates on December 10 are as under. spot rate क्या था उस दिन, 1 USD 75 था bid rate और 75.50 was the offer rate under spot rate। ओके, और आप देख सकते हैं जनवरी फॉरवर्ड का मार्जिन दिया गया है, फरवरी फॉरवर्ड का मार्जिन दिया गया है। बैंक रिक्वायर्स एन एक्सचेंज मार्जिन ऑफ 0.10% और टीटी बाइंग रेट है टीटी बाइंग रेट का जो एक्सचेंज मार्जिन है वो 0.10% है और बिल्स बाइंग रेट का एक्सचेंज मार्जिन है वो 0.15% है। ओके, so the question is asking what rate will be quoted and how much amount will be credited to customer's account. So guys, you can go through the options here और आप लोग ट्राई करें बनाने के लिए। ओके, इसको सॉल्व करने के लिए वीडियो को पॉज करके। ऑलराइट, मैं आपको करेक्ट आंसर बताता हूँ। करेक्ट आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन इज ऑप्शन C, that is 13,56,142 amount will be credited to customer account. So guys, explanation इसका यही है, सिंस नॉस्ट्रो अकाउंट में ऑलरेडी क्रेडिट हो गया है बैंक के, तो आप अगर टीटी बाइंग का डेफिनेशन देखें, नॉस्ट्रो अकाउंट में अगर बैंक के क्रेडिट हो जाता है ऑलरेडी अमाउंट, तो आपको टीटी बाइंग रेट अप्लाई करना है। ओके, सो टीटी बाइंग रेट यूज होगा इस केस में। नो नीड टू टेक एनी फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन, स्पॉट रेट विल बी अप्लाइड। ओके, बिकॉज सिंस नॉस्ट्रो अकाउंट ऑलरेडी क्रेडिट हो गया है तो फॉरवर्ड मार्जिन आपको लेने का जरूरत ही नहीं है। ऑलराइट, सो स्पॉट रेट क्या है अभी 75 रुपीज़ था, उसमें आप बाइंग के केस में हमेशा मार्जिन एक्सचेंज आप जो है आपको डिडक्ट करना है, तो यहाँ पे 75 लेस 0.10% एक्सचेंज मार्जिन, सो कितना हो गया फाइनल रेट 74.925। ये रेट कोट किया जाएगा कस्टमर को 74.925 एंड एक्सपोर्टर अकाउंट विल बी क्रेडिटेड बाय 74.925 इंटू 18,100, सो 13,56,142 रुपीज़ विल बी क्रेडिटेड in exporters account। Okay, so guys, let's move on to the last question of the video. Question number 51, retirement of important bill retirement of import bill for GBP 1 lakh, Great Britain pound 1 lakh by TT margin 0.20%. You ignore discount premium. All right, spot rate is GBP USD spot rate is 1.30/35 and USD INR spot rate is 72.00/72.10। okay, so you need to find out the rate quoted to the customer। guys, ये क्रॉस रेट का क्वेश्चन है, so क्रॉस रेट के अगर क्वेश्चंस आए then you can solve through this example which I am giving। okay, so guys, you can go through the option A is 93.787, option B is 97.140, option C is 97.335 and option D is 97.530। so guys, the correct answer is option D, that is 97.530। guys, ये import bill है तो हमेशा selling rate apply होगा। okay, और selling rate में you already know that we always take the offer rate, so 1.35 इसमें है, GBP USD के केस में 1.35 है और USD INR में 72.10 है। दोनों को अगर आप मल्टीप्लाई कर देंगे तो आपका 1 GBP INR का रेट निकल जाएगा। ओके, GBP INR, so 1.35 into 72.10, 97.335, so एक Great Britain pound means 97.335 INR। now you need to add TT margin, क्योंकि सेलिंग के केस में हमेशा मार्जिन आपको एक्सचेंज मार्जिन ऐड करना पड़ता है। ओके, सो 0.25% अगर आप ऐड करोगे तो फाइनल कोड जो कस्टमर को दोगे आप 97.335 प्लस 0.20% मार्जिन, दैट इज 0.195 is equal to 97.530। okay, that is the quote। so guys, we have come to an end। we really want to thank you for watching, and thank you for giving us the overwhelming response. And if you're new to the video, please like, subscribe and share the video. And if you are our existing subscriber, please subscribe the video and share the video with your friends. Okay, share the piece of knowledge. Thank you once again for watching.